You're listening to 91 Reasons, a journey into the twisted landscape of pop culture. Keep your hands and arms inside the podcast at all times. And now, the voice, Jeff Tucker.
A couple of weeks ago on Monday, I was going down to Long Beach because I'd entered this storytelling contest put on by Mariana Williams, who's married to the legendary Paul Williams. And I had won back in February telling the Berg Yaki Bird story. So this was the big finals, to get all the winners from all the months together to tell their stories. And they're going to award money, and then the winner got a trip to San Francisco. It was a big deal, and it was going to be a lot of fun. And I was ready for it. I'm always ready to tell a Berg story. I don't need any prodding to tell a Berg story. And around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock that day, my guy that works with me, a really nice guy named Gus, he goes, "Hey, did you hear?" And I said, "Hear what?" Now, "Hey, did you hear?" never ends well. It's very rare that you go, and somebody goes, "Hey, did you hear? You won the lottery. Hey, did you hear? So-and-so had their baby." And that does happen. But usually, and certainly for 2016, "Hey, did you hear?" means someone has died. We started the year off. We lost Bowie. We lost Alan Rickman. We lost Prince. It's been a rough year. We lost a lot of other people, a lot of really amazing, famous, talented people. And very, the way I am, I know that death is a natural living. I've already said that. You get old, and when somebody goes, you have to go, well, they had their time. And now they're gone. You got to get the hell over it, right? Only it's easy to say and harder to practice, because Gus's next thing was, I thought you'd heard Gene Wilder died, and I just like all the air went out of me, like a deflated balloon, like ooh. There are very few people that I could meet that would make me nervous. And Gene Wilder is at the top of the list. I know he made a few appearances in the last couple of years. He did a book signing a couple of years, but I missed them all. Just bad timing, miscommunication, not knowing, and I missed them all. So at the top, and my kids knew this. My wife knew this. At the top of my list of celebrities to meet, people that I would have a hard time meeting, even though I wanted to. Gene Wilder's at the top. So Gus had to give me that news, and the first thing you do is you check Facebook, and of course it's true because everybody's posting about it. And the rest of the night spiraled downward. I didn't win that contest. I'm sure the other stories were better than mine or whatever it was, but for my part, I was off. I considered not even going and just going home, and I wasn't even going to watch a Gene Wilder movie that night. I was just going to go home and go to bed. I just felt like all the wind, all the air, everything's gone. The battery has depleted to zero. But I got up there and I did my story, and I got some good feedback. But my wife came up to me afterwards and she said, "You were off." And I said, "Yeah, no, I can tell. Gene Wilder's passing has really messed with me today." And here we are, a couple weeks later, and it hasn't changed. It's not going to change for a long time. And I know that this episode is about Willy Wonka, but you can't talk about Willy Wonka without talking about the man himself. And it's hard to describe why, or, to detail to you that as a young child, and I'm talking 4, 5 years old, 6 years old. Because Star Wars came out when I was 6. And that was that was the biggest thing that ever happened up until Back to the Future. But prior to that, and the things that really make you the person that you are, the things that happen in your formative years, whether you are aware of them or not, they are there. The movies, the songs, the people, the situations, what's going on. If there was a divorce, if there was a marriage, a baby, it all adds up to who you are. And back in the 70s, there was no video store. There was no Netflix. We had to chill without Netflix. I know, horrors. So what we clung to was movies that were shown once a year. The biggest one being Wizard of Oz. Wizard of Oz bombed in theaters. Nobody went and saw it. And it wasn't until, I think, the 60s that somebody said, we're going to put this thing on TV. And we're going to put it on once a year. We're going to make it an event. And it becomes legendary. And family memories are built as people sit around the tube and watch Dorothy get whisked away to the land of Oz. And the same thing happened on a smaller degree with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. The movie was from 1971. It came out and it bombed. It didn't do very well. It was produced by the Quaker Oats Company, because they wanted to sell a chocolate bar in conjunction with the film. And the chocolate bars made it all the way to the market, but there was something wrong with the formula, and they all melted right on the shelf. So the chocolate bars were recalled. The movie comes out. There's no candy. It's come and gone. So it's just a movie. Didn't do well. But what happened is savvy producers know that theatrical run is just the beginning of a good movie. We're going to put this thing on TV. We're going to put it on once a year and make it an event. So at a very young age, I discovered this film and how unbelievably great it is. And 95% of that is Gene Wilder. His performance is amazing. Nothing short of amazing in it. So I would look forward to this film once a year. When's it on? I can't have a sleepover. I don't want any toys out. I need to be left alone. Willy Wonka is on. It's only on one time. Leave me alone. Let me watch this. And the real turning point, and I've talked about this on prior episodes, was getting that Betamax cassette player. And my mother bringing it home, big, giant, heavy piece, top loader, ka-clunk. Put the beta in, clunk, hit play, and it goes, as it pulls the tape out. It had a corded remote. It wasn't even remote wireless. It had a corded remote. And yet, I could see in it, this thing's going to allow me to do that which I have dreamed my entire childhood. And that's watch movies at my preference. So I can remember my mother saying, hey, we're going to go get a movie rental membership at the Video Depot at Norwalk Square. Back when video stores were carpeted, hardwood shelves made to make you feel at home, posters on the wall, cardboard standees, And all they did was rent movies. They didn't have a candy selection. They didn't sell sodas. They didn't try to sell you a TV, nothing. They just rented movies. And they were packed. It's hard to describe to young people how central the video store was on Friday and Saturday night. And you planned it. Look, we got to go rent movies, and we got to go early, because if we don't go early, A, we're not going to get the movies that we want, and B, we're going to stand in an hour and a half line. And the line would stretch out the door. And the first time we went and signed up for that card, I didn't hesitate. The first movie I ever rented was Willy Wonka. Brought that beta home, stuck it in, clunk, clunk, and a revelation. I can watch this movie as many times as I possibly can until it's due back tomorrow. Remember, they gave you one day to watch the movie, one night. So I stayed up that night, and I watched it probably 4 times in its entirety. Except the fact that it was on tape allowed me to fast forward through Cheer Up Charlie. I didn't have to watch or sit through Cheer Up Charlie, because when you're watching it on TV, you're stuck watching Cheer Up Charlie. It's the worst number of the whole movie, and it just slows the whole thing down. So I chop 4 minutes out of each watching, and I can watch more of it on the back end because I'm not watching Cheer Up Charlie. And I binge watched Willy Wonka back before that was even a thing. Then eventually I caught it on TV and taped it, and then I watched it again and again and again. I had about 20 movies on rotation when I was in high school. Come home, get something to eat, put a beta cassette in, and there's your evening till mom gets home. Like, those were such good days, you know? And it just cemented my admiration of this movie. So, if you're living under a rock, or we're going to go through it, Willy Wonka tells the story. It's based on a book by Roald Dahl. And this was a book that was read to me, I think, in the first grade. Remember when your teacher would sit up there and read a chapter a day? I was riveted to this book. I mean, I knew the movie, but I was like, oh, she's reading the movie. Miss Sinclair is reading the movie. And I would just sit there mesmerized. Oh, the chapter in it. Is he going to get the ticket? Well, I know he does because I've seen the movie, but the book might be a little different. So I checked out a copy of the book and read that a lot. There's a sequel called Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. It's not very good. I don't recommend it to anybody. It's one of the few times you can actually see an author hoping for a big check and literally phoning it in. But the book is great. The movie is better. So the movie tells the story in the book, and I'll tell you where they part ways, of Charlie Bucket. Charlie Bucket is a poor kid, goes to school, watches the other kids live upper middle class lives where they can enjoy frivolity and candy. And he can't have any of that. He has a job after school. He throws papers, and he gets paid, and he spends all of it on a loaf of bread and money for his mom. And Charlie lives with his mom and 2 sets of grandparents. He lives with Grandpa Joe and Grandma Josephine, and Grandpa George and Grandma Georgina. We're never in the film. There is no Mr. Bucket. And that's the chief and most important difference between the film and the book. In the book, Charlie is a father. Mr. Bucket works at a toothpaste factory, screwing the lids on. If you've seen the awful and unnecessary Tim Burton remake, they made that part of the film because they're morons and they don't understand what makes a good film. That remake is worthless. I watched it one time in a theater out of courtesy, thinking it's Depp. Maybe he'll do something amazing with the role. He's never going to equal Wilder, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. And it came out like they turned Wonka into this alien creature. It's absurd. So the Mel Stewart 1971 version improves on the book by getting rid of Charlie's father. Because like I've said before in my episodes on writing, and whenever you're reviewing a movie worth its salt, almost every single film or story that lasts is about a son looking for his father. That's just the way it goes, folks. And it has to do with the power of myth. If you've read any Joseph Campbell, which I devoured Joseph Campbell, in a nutshell, without going too deep into the weeds on this, Women, when they get their period, become women. Girls, when they get their period, become women. There's a biological shift that says you are no longer a child, you are now a woman. Boys don't have that. Sure, they grow beards and all that, but there's no big signifier that you are now a man. So that's why a lot of ancient tribes and ancient peoples invented rituals that showed a boy transferring to manhood, like a bar mitzvah. That's where that came from. And it has been said that no son is truly a man until he conquers whatever his father has brought before him. So a lot of the stories that we cling to are about a son looking for his father. That's, in modern day times, that's the Lion King. You know? Mufasa dies and Simba has no idea until he can become his father. Star Wars is about the search for the father. That's what every major story has in common. So adding that to the Wonka story gives it such weight right at the beginning, because here's Charlie Bucket. He works hard. He's almost too perfect of a character because he has no flaws. He is giving, he is loving, he is patient, he gives his money to his mom, he gives money to his grandpa to buy tobacco, and he has no father. So that gives him purpose. He has no dad to look up to. He's got to find a father figure in order to complete his, pardon the pun, circle of life. We're shown in early scenes the Wonka factory closed, the WONKA letters on the smokestack. And then you meet the Tinkerer, which is, here's the other thing about this movie. It's scary. Because, and this is a newsflash to the people today, kids like scary. A lot of movies come out and they're so gentle and so ridiculous that kids just tune right out. But you scare a kid, they will be riveted to you. That's why Monster House was so popular. Kids like to be scared. It's a fact. So when the Tinkerer shows up and he's got a cart loaded with butcher's knives and scissors, and he looks at Charlie all menacing, down the airy mountain, across the rushing glen, we dare not go a-hunting for fear of little men. Nobody ever goes in, and nobody ever goes out. And then he just clanks off down the road. We have no idea what he's talking about. And that's why when Charlie then asks Grandpa Joe, what is that guy talking about? We get the story of the great Willy Wonka, the greatest candy maker in the world, who was tired of spies stealing his secrets. So he shut the factory doors for years. And then one day, for no reason at all, the smokestack started spewing and chocolate started coming out the delivery door. And nobody knows who works in there. Nobody ever goes in. And nobody ever goes out. And no one has seen the elusive and reclusive Willy Wonka ever since. Now, the one part that's interesting about the whole setup to this movie is we get the idea that Charlie wants to get in that factory more than life itself. Because Wonka announces that he's going to put 5 golden tickets somewhere in the world. And if you find a golden ticket, you get a lifetime supply of chocolate. So the entire world is looking for these golden tickets, including Charlie, who, in the scramble to find this hidden golden ticket, only opens 2 candy bars because that's all he can afford. But what's interesting is that the need to get in there, the wanting, is never really explored. Why does Charlie want to get in there so bad? Oh, we get that him and his family are starving and the chocolate will somehow be food. I don't know. But they don't ever show Charlie like laying in his bed staring at a poster of the Wonka factory, or, his dad worked there and died and he's got to, there's none of that. It's simply Charlie wants to win the contest. And the subtext is maybe he'll find a father in there. But you got to look really deep between the lines to even discover that. Because he has a proxy father, and that's Grandpa Joe. So one by one, all over the world, the tickets are found. Augustus Gloop in Germany finds it, and he's a big kid who eats a lot. Violet Beauregard's a gum chewer. She's from America. Her father's a used car salesman. Slick talker. Veruca Salt, her father gets her one by literally buying every candy bar in town and making his factory, which normally shells peanuts, open up chocolate bars. Veruca Salt's, out of all of the four other kids, Veruca's the most dynamic. She's a great actress, nails every moment. You never get the idea that this girl's faking it. Veronica Dawn Cole, I think her name is. She's just fantastic in this role. Just amazing. Veruca's a really fully fleshed out character. Totally. Not not just a one note brat, but you can see in the few scenes she has how she manipulates her parents and her clueless mother. You better start delivering, Henry. You're going to be very unpopular around here. I'm trying. What can I do? I mean, that guy's great. One of the greatest British character actors. You've seen him in a million things. His turn as Mr. Salt is nothing short of brilliant. Oh, my God. You know, he opens the window. There's a £1 bonus in your pay bucket. What do you think of that? He's great. And then one of the lines I use all the time when the mom goes, see, that's what we're after. Happiness and harmony, right? So then Mike TV finds his ticket. Mike TV's annoying. He's a kid who only watches TV all day, wants a real gun, wants to shoot people. He's an ugly American. And I think part of his distaste, why we don't like him, is the actor who plays him is annoying. I know he's doing it as directed. I totally get that. But when you see interviews with him afterwards, you're like, oh, this guy's kind of smarmy. You know, there's a little bit of Mike TV in him that's not being faked. You know, same with a little bit of Violet Beauregard. In some of the later interviews, she comes across well, I had a career, and I was in movies, and I'm okay, it's great. You don't have to give us your credits. We love you for being Violet Beauregard. Doesn't matter that you were in Dark Shadows or whatever it was. So, Charlie's about to give up hope, and his hope is completely dashed when somewhere in Paraguay, a reclusive multi-billionaire finds a golden ticket. So the contest is over. And even though, Charlie's had a couple of chances, there was a birthday candy bar that should have had it in there. It's a great scene where he pretends that it's in there, and his mom is really it's silly. You should just stop. And I remember we watched it just the other night. Even Rachel at that scene was like, "Maybe he didn't get it." No, he didn't. He didn't get it. And at that part of the movie, it seems like he should get it. But the movie does a pretty good job of stretching out Charlie getting that ticket. I mean, we know he's going to get it or there's no movie, right? It's the Paraguay one that really sells it because his ticket turns out to have been a forgery. So all bets are off and the tickets are still out there. There are some really funny vignettes of people looking for golden tickets. Some of my most favorite scenes that don't involve Wonka are these. There's a woman whose husband Harold has been kidnapped, and they finally get the call from the kidnappers. What do you want? Uh-huh. All right, I'll tell her. What do they want? They want your case of Wonka bars. Did you hear me? It's your husband's life or your case of Wonka bars. And she goes, how long will they give me to think about it? I just want my Harold back. It's a really funny sequence. There's another sequence with a guy laying on his psychiatrist's couch who has a dream of where the ticket is. And the doctor's like, if you believe in your dreams, you're crazy. But where's the ticket? Tell me where the ticket is. And then they show candy bars being delivered to the White House. They show the Queen of England bidding on them at an auction. The best one simply is the guy with the computer. All of your money and dedication has paid off with this computer. Well, now tell us the exact location of the remaining tickets. And he punches, doot, and then the little printout, 1970s printout comes out. Ding! I won't tell, that would be cheating. I am now telling the computer, if it tells me the location of the ticket, I will gladly share with it the grand prize. What would a computer do with a lifetime supply of chocolate? I am now telling the computer exactly what it can do with a lifetime supply of chocolate. I mean, that's just, in a kid's movie, it's unexpected, it's funny, it's dead on satire, and it didn't get me as a kid, but as an adult, you start really picking the movie apart and finding out it is better than the sum of its parts. So with the Paraguay ticket a phony, there's still a ticket out there. And lo and behold, Charlie finds $1 in the street. He buys a Scrumdiddlyumptious bar and shoves it right down his mouth. And then he buys one last candy bar from Bill's Candy Shop. The guy who was saying Candyman at the beginning. He's fantastic. That was supposed to be Sammy Davis Jr. in that role. He begged the producers, and finally the producer said, look, if we put you in the movie, everybody in the theater is just going to go, oh my God, it's Sammy Davis Jr., and they're going to be taken out of the movie. And even he had to agree with that. So Charlie has the golden, he opens it up and there's the golden ticket, big surprise. And there's some more satire of like, he's surrounded by people and there's a frenzy. The kid's got the golden ticket. And his boss is like, run home, Charlie, straight home, take it straight home, right? And on the way, he runs into this scar-faced man that we have seen present at every ticket recipient's interview. And he says, he introduces himself as Slugworth. I'm Slugworth of Slugworth Chocolates. And tells Harry, if you can get me an everlasting gobstopper, I will give your family enough money to live the rest of their lives in comfort. Like, it is a hefty bribe. And then it's just sort of glossed over. They're going to remind you a couple of times later in the movie, but it is glossed over for a good reason. But yet it's there. So when Charlie gets home, tells his family, they don't believe him. He's like, no, I really have the ticket. And they realize that he gets to go to the factory tour tomorrow, and he can bring somebody with him. So Grandpa Joe, who has not been out of bed in 50 years or longer, puts his feet on the floor, all for Charlie, and sings, I've got a golden ticket. Jack Albertson is amazing as Grandpa Joe. He's everything you want in a grandpa. He's gruff when he needs to be and soft when he has to be, or soft when he wants to be and gruff when he has to be. And it's funny, the mom isn't even an option to go. He's taking Grandpa Joe, and Grandpa Joe's gonna get out of bed to go with him. That I've got a golden ticket. Just makes me happy listening to it. I never thought that I would fly over the moon in ecstasy, but nevertheless it's there that I'm shortly about to be. I can't sing, but that movie makes me want to sing. So the next morning, they're all at the factory, and it's a media blitz, and it's done really well with all the media there, the crowds pushing, and the kids in the grandstand waiting to go in. And we finally, at about the 44-minute mark, we finally get our first glimpse at the title character. The door opens, Gene Wilder walks out as Willy Wonka, and every time I see it, I am entranced by his performance. It does something to me. It's hard to describe. I wanted Willy Wonka, I wanted that character to be real. I wanted him to exist. I knew it was Gene Wilder because I remember even as a young kid watching Sherlock Holmes' Smarter Brother because it was Gene Wilder. Obviously Young Frankenstein because it was Gene Wilder. Woman in Red, Stir Crazy, Silver Streak, like all of that gateway Wilder genius. The gateway drug is Wonka. And Wonka comes out, and he's this frail, he's got a little figure with a cane. And for a moment, you're a little scared, like, oh no, he's like Yoda. You know what I mean? He came out long before Yoda, but like, oh no, he's like this little tiny frail, oh my God. And then the cane stops. He does that frontward somersault, and he pops up, and he's got that Gene Wilder twinkle and the hair, and that's the moment you go, I am at once in love with this man and terrified of him. And isn't that the definition of love? To be at once entranced and wanting to be around this person and terrified at the same time. I'm describing love right here, right? So the kids go in, and he's just everything you thought he would be. And he got you at the beginning. And I base a lot of the projects I work on that moment, trying to capture that moment in other mediums. How do we subvert the audience's expectations? They're seeing one thing, knowing that they want another, and then boom, we give it to them. And that's what Wonka does coming out that door. And the legend, which is true, says that he only agreed to do the movie if they would let him do that entrance. He said, sure. So he does, and it's amazing. Even Rachel asked, was that a stunt double? I go, no, it's Gene Wilder. At the top of his game. So they go into the factory, and you're just with this man. You're in Wonka's hands. And what better place to be if you're a good person? Because he makes them all sign a contract that they're not going to screw around or steal anything. We see the moving coat rack hooks. And then the first other indication that not only is Wonka off, but the factory itself is off when he takes them into a room that has no other door and then goes out the same door he went in, and it's another door. It's fantastic. It's the same trick they'd pull years later in Murder by Death with the dining room. And so Wonka's taking them to the chocolate room, where all of his dreams become reality, and some of his reality becomes dreams. And any terror you had of seeing him flip around and signing contracts, and he's constantly going the other direction with you. He leads you down a path one way. Hey, I'm a jerk who makes kids sign a contract. And then the next moment, he takes out of his bag of tricks pure imagination. And he's singing to every kid in the audience with a dream, which is every kid in the audience. And he's telling you it's possible. Wonka's saying, I'm standing in a room made of candy. What's your dream? Because mine, I made it. It's right here. There is no life I know like pure imagination. And that's when the movie, the house could be on fire, and I am not going to leave this movie. I don't care what's happening. Wonka's telling me that there's a place within ourselves that everything is possible. We just got to find it. And he did. He found it. And it's all practical. It's all real. There's not even a matte painting in that sequence. The chocolate room existed at one point. You could have gone there in England or Germany, wherever the hell they filmed it, and you could have been there. And I've seen the behind footage of them walking around, and I am astounded that at one time it existed. It's not a green screen. It's an honest-to-goodness set with a chocolate waterfall and a marshmallow-filled mushroom. And he just does that dance, and he kicks up the balls, and he sits down, and he drinks from the cup, and then he bites it. And it's just an indication that you don't have to grow up, and that your dreams can become a reality. Wonka worked hard at it. It wasn't like it just appeared. He worked for years, even in seclusion. But man, is that such a powerhouse scene. Forget candy. Like as a kid, I'm sure I was, everything's candy. Let me get some candy. And as an adult, I'm just sitting there. I've got tears coming down my face. Like, There's Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka singing about imagination. And if you're not electrified by that moment, then you're not living. He is the embodiment of creativity in that moment. He's going to say it later. When he is challenged by Veruca, who ever heard of a Snowsberry? We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of the dreams. And without us, you got nothing, baby. So, the first kid, Augustus, drinks from the river. Wonka begs him not to do it. He falls in, he gets sucked up the pipe. Interesting thing to do. When Augustus falls under, hold your breath and see if you can hold it until you finally see his face getting oxygen again. It's quite a long time. Which brings you back to the amazing opening line, Hold your breath. Count to 3. Make a wish. I mean, that's just, it's so good. It's so good. So, Augustus is sucked up and his mom says, he'll be got into marshmallows. Impossible, woman. Because the room doesn't go to the marshmallow room. It goes to the fudge room. You'll boil him up, I know it. And then Wonka begins the first of his quotations. When they're watching Augustus in the tube, he goes, the suspense is terrible. I hope it will last. And as a kid, I just thought that was the greatest. Here's a kid in dire danger, and Wonka's eating candy and watching it with fascination and curiosity. And then as an adult or a teenager to discover that he's quoting Oscar Wilde, doesn't his percentage points go up? The guy's quoting Oscar Wilde. And then when the Oompa Loompas, he does that little whistle, when, remember the Rachmaninoff? I just love all that. Sorry if I keep overlapping backwards, but I just, one thing begets another, and the journey that we're on takes a back step, and then we keep going. But when the Oompa Loompas are taking the mom off, Wonka tells her, across the desert lies the promised land. He's quoting the Bible at that point. You don't know what this guy's deal is. And then, again, here's how the movie is surprising you and then taking it. It's leading you down a path one way and then jerking the rug out from under you. We go into the chocolate room. It's amazing. It's beautiful. And one of the kids has sucked up a pipe out of it. So the danger is real. That kid's gone. He doesn't come back. In the novel at the end, you see all the kids safe and sound. The movie does not give you that. You never see Augustus again. Save some room for later. There's no later. There's some dialogue, he'll be fine, but we never see him. And the next scene, they get on this amazing boat, the Wonkatania, for a journey through the chocolate room into this tunnel. And then the movie takes that turn I'm talking about, where 1 minute we're oohing and awing the chocolate room. Oh my God. And the next, the lights are whizzing by. A chicken gets its head cut off. Somebody has something crawling on their eye. We see Slugworth again in the hallucinations or whatever the hell it is. And Wonka's singing the most terrifying song we've ever heard. There's no earthly way of knowing which way the river's flowing. The danger must be growing, for the rowers keep on rowing. Is it raining? Is it snowing? Is a hurricane a-blowing? Is the reaper blowing? It's just terrifying. Terrifying. To the point that Veruca goes, I don't want a boat like this, after asking her dad for one. There's a moment on the boat where you see somebody picking their nose, and she goes, this is a dirty habit. And Wonka goes, I can think of a worse one. And then you realize, not only is Wonka this amazing candy maker, whatever, but he's on our side. He's not going to just sit there and let these kids run amok. He's going to tell them. And if they would just listen to Wonka, which Charlie says later, why won't she listen to Mr. Wonka? Because, Charlie, she's a nitwit. They are undone by the very thing that they're into. Augustus was greedy. He was sloth. He was eating as much as an elephant eats, right? And then, I didn't even mention we meet the Oompa Loompas. And we get the little story about how he saved them from the rotten vermicious canids and wang-doodlers and snozwangers. The remake really does a disservice by showing you these scenes, and Wonka comes off as some kind of weird slave trader. It's really, really weird. You just need to tell the story. If you've hired good actors, they can sell it. You don't have to show freaking everything. Just tell a story. And certainly, Gene Wilder telling you the story is good enough for me. So, the boat ride ends, and they're taken to the inventing room. And once again, we're treated to whimsy. And the inventing room is crazy. All practical, all these machines whirring and colored liquids and smoke and boop, 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 doo-doo-doo-doo. All this is great, right? And you see Wonka putting a clock, time is very precious, never waste it. Or this mixture is too cold, so he gives it a jacket. Just some weird jokes. And check out the scene where he walks off camera, and they're sort of staring off into space. And then not 3 seconds later, he's on a bike. And he's singing, he's going, spring-a-ding, a-ding-a-ding, sweet lovers love the springtime, the ever-loving ringtime. Like, it's just bizarre. And you can't really tell, is Wonka giving these kids a tour, or is Wonka just in his own world? And they're along for the ride. I think that's a little closer to the truth. And so we're shown the machine that makes everlasting gobstoppers. The production design is amazing because we don't actually see the machine. We just see cloth moving and whirring. And it's very mysterious in all the right ways. And then the gobstoppers come down, and they're like little landmines, little colored landmines. And everybody gets one. And you know that everybody's got the same deal going with Slugworth. That if they give this to Slugworth, they will get money. So with the gobstopper moment taken care of, we move to our next child elimination. Violet Beauregard. Wonka shows a machine that makes gum that tastes like an entire meal. And she grabs it, and he goes, Don't do that. I wouldn't do that if I were you. And she does it anyways. And she could feel she could taste all the food. And then, of course, they get to the blueberry pie. She turns into a blueberry. Prick her with a pin. Violet, you're turning violet. And another kid done in by their own excess, which is, at this point, it's a strange one. The Oompa Loompas sing about chewing gum. As if chewing gum is, I don't know, is it a bad habit? I don't really chew gum. I've never really given it much thought except in the context of this film. Because if you look at the four children, we've got Augustus Gloop, he's sloth and greed. Because we're going to do this, they're the 7 deadly sins, right? So what is Violet Beauregard? Gum chewing is not one of the deadly sins, but when she taunts Cornelia, her friend, who she beats the record in gum chewing, you kind of get vanity. Like, she's vanity, right? Because Veruca's also greed, right? Because remember in 7, they only do 5 of them. Because the last 2 are envy and wrath. So the actual, and then Wonka's only got 4. So yeah, I'm basically saying that 7 is the adult version of Willy Wonka. And I'm not sure how I got to that road, and somebody needs to pull me back. But that 7 is the adult version of Willy Wonka, which makes Kevin Spacey Willy Wonka in that, right? Isn't that great? You'd buy that a lot more than whatever Depp did. So they take Violet Beauregard off, and she's gone. 2 kids gone. The next sequence is Charlie and Grandpa drinking fizzy lifting drinks. Now, in the book, Wonka just shows it to him. These are fizzy lifting drinks, but I gave some to an Oompa Loompa, and he floated off into the sky and never came back. And the whole time, and this is in a children's book, Wonka's screaming, "Burp, you silly ass!" And the guy won't do it, so he just floats off into the sky. which I don't think they did that in the new one. I know they changed the geese to the squirrels from the book, but I don't know if they did I don't know. And I remember the first time watching it, like, oh, that's different than the book. Because Charlie and Grandpa drink it and then float to the ceiling and have to burp to come down. It's a weird sequence. You can see the wires. I'm not a fan of watching these two characters burp. It's gross. But, it does, when you know what's coming at the end, you're willing to forgive it being there. Right? We don't see square candies that look round. That's from the book. Instead, they join Wonka talking about the geese that lay the golden eggs for Easter. And then what's interesting is the producers must have suspected that Veruca was the best of the other kids, because they give Veruca a song and dance number. The other kids don't get that. But Veruca, I want the world. I want the whole world. It's brilliant. Because instead of hearing her whine again, they give it to us in a song. So it's a little more appealing to us. Very smart on behalf of the producers. There's only so much of Veruca. Even earlier, Violet told her to shut up. And we're like, yeah, great. Tell her to shut up. I want this. I want that. I want a Oompa Loompa now. Whatever. Shut it. So in a song, it's a little easier to take. And then it culminates with her being declared a bad egg and being sent down the chute. And then her father follows right after her. Veruca, honey, Daddy's coming! She was a bad egg. And then Grandpa Joe goes, well, Mr. Salt finally got what he wanted. Veruca went first. It's fantastic sequence. Especially considering it's 1970 when they made this thing. The everything's puppetry and practical stuff. It's all great. There's no way they could have done that squirrel scene. And, the squirrel scene in the new one comes off creepy. The squirrels are scary. When they pick her up and attack her, it's like watching somebody being attacked by wildlife. It's much better for her to stand and have the scale judge her character to get rid of her than the squirrel go, oh, she's a bad nut, knocking on her head, and then physically abducting her and carrying her off. I don't know what they were thinking in that remake. So many missteps. That stupid melting opener, it's just gross. And the stupid squirrels, it's violent. They attack her. It looks like a scene from The Omen or something, right? So we're down to 2 children left. We're down to Charlie and Mike TV, and then we get a ride in the this Wonka mobile that's powered by soda, where there's foam. It's a fun sequence. It doesn't really do much for the movie, but instead of just walking down another hallway, because they've had hallways that don't go anywhere, hallways that do, hallways with lickable wallpaper. Finally, they get in a vehicle. They got in a boat. Now they get in a car, and that's because in the book they get in the glass elevator fairly quickly. Everybody gets in, and they push a button, and they go to different rooms of the factory. But in the movie, they were saving that obviously for the end, which works perfectly. It's the thing where a book is one animal and a film is another. I have no. It sounds like I'm in South Central. There was just, I assume that was fireworks. It was either fireworks or somebody invaded our turf. I don't know what just happened. You see what I'm up against? Griff and the gang are about to bust into the Cafe 80s here. So they get to the next sequence, which is the Wonka Vision set piece. Wonka dons this great white jumpsuit with top hat on top, of course, and he devises that you can send candy over the television, and that the viewer will be able to pluck it from the screen and eat it, which in the book is great. In the movie, it's fun, but as a kid, I was like, well, do I have to be the first kid to grab that? What if somebody else grabs it? Is it in everybody's television or just the one television? I don't know how it works. And you know what? They don't explain. Who cares? It doesn't matter. What matters is that Mike TV, who's obsessed with television, decides to be the first kid sitting by a television, and then is shrunk down to the size of a doll. When I worked at the video store, there was a woman who used to come in who looked just like Mike TV's mom. And every time she'd come to the counter, I would look at my coworker and go, "He's above our heads in a million pieces," and never reference it to her. But oh my God, that made us laugh every single time. Mike TV is taken off. We get a cautionary song about watching too much television. And it basically tells you to go read a book, which is a good sentiment, except that I watched this film on my TV. So the film itself was telling me to turn it off and go read a book. So I was very tortured as a child. Listen, I want to do what the machine's telling me to do. I honestly do. But it's telling me to stop watching it. And I'm like 10 minutes from the end. I can't do that. What am I supposed to, what do I do? So Mike TV exits the film, and we're fine with it because Mike TV is nuts. I seem to recall there's a really weird joke there at the end. I can't remember what it was. I remember remarking to Austin and Luna last night when we watched it. I'll have to look it up, and if I can remember, I'll put it on Facebook. There was some weird joke that he makes that's very strange. Can't remember it. Doesn't matter. But they're going to take him and put him on the taffy puller and stretch him out. In the book, you see Mike TV at the end. He's like 7 feet tall now. And he's only, 10? So it's very bizarre. This movie just negates all that. Who cares? We really don't care the fate of these other kids. They just exit the movie one by one by one. And then it's Charlie left by himself with Grandpa Joe. And we're not sure how are we going to end this thing. Like, we don't know. And Wonka just excuses them. "I've got work to do. The door's right out there. And time to go." And, oh no, there's a helicopter circling ahead. So, Grandpa Joe just says, "What about the chocolate? The lifetime supply of chocolate for Charlie." Oh, he doesn't get it. What do you mean he doesn't get it? Well, he broke the rules. We didn't see it. They go into the office. Wonka's brilliant half office where everything is in half. The safe, the desk, the bus, the lamp, the typewriter, the ashtray. He's smoking a cigar. Like, it's great. He's just done. His day is over. He gave the kids the tour. Now it's time for the last one to go, and they're all out. He even says, "Total day wasted. Whole day wasted." Direct opposition to so little to do in so much time. Strike that, reverse it. And at the end, he's like, "Whole day wasted." And they challenge him on it. And it's, this has become one of those scenes that's so iconic. Like we've seen sarcastic Wonka as a meme. But if you go on and search "Good Day, Sir," like there's millions of things people have done to this thing. Where he just goes, "You broke the rules. We didn't see any rules, did we, Charlie? Wrong, sir, wrong." And he gets it. It's, he goes, I love talking about it. "It's all here, black and white, clear as crystal. You stole fizzy lifting drinks. You both bumped to the ceiling, which must be washed and sanitized. You get nothing. Good day, sir." And then Grandpa Joe is like, "You inhuman monster. How could you build up a little boy's dreams?" Oh, right? So the adults are having a fight over rules that were broken, promises that were made. And Wonka's just throwing them out. And Grandpa Joe says, "We'll just go. And if Slugworth wants his gobstopper, he'll get his gobstopper." And Charlie stops. And everything is pivoting on this moment. And it's a life lesson. Then the lesson is, to the good people go the spoils. To the good people go the riches. People who do the right thing. How many of us would have stopped? How many of us would have just simply taken that gobstopper and taken it to Slugworth and gotten all the money? Good food and comfort for the rest of our lives is what was promised. Just for a little piece of candy. But Charlie in that moment remembers, Wonka gave it to him if you promise never to show it to another living soul as long as you live. And he's not buying Grandpa Joe's anger. He's just in the moment of, this is a life moment where I'm going to do the right thing. And Charlie Bucket walking over to Wonka's desk and putting that candy down. Mr. Wonka, here you go. Is what all of us aspire to be as humans. It really is. Can we do the right thing? Even when no one is watching. The measure of integrity is doing the right thing even if no one is watching. And Charlie Bucket displays the highest integrity a movie character can have by putting that candy back on the desk. Not even saying, look, I'm not giving it to Slugworth, but he gave it to me, and I'm not going to get the lifetime supply of chocolate. I can at least have a candy that lasts forever. And instead, no. I broke the rules. I deserve nothing. I'm giving it back. And then Wonka says, I mean, you're quoting it with me. So shines a good deed in a weary world. Charlie, you've won! My boy! Like, it's so uplifting. And you can see the look on Grandpa Joe and Charlie's face. They're just, like, it's the best act in the world. They're shocked. Here's this guy who dismissed him and screamed and turned his back, and now he's apologizing for putting him through this ruse. Like, this terrible, terrible morality choice. And you can see Wonka in the room is the most relieved because he orchestrated this whole thing to find Charlie Bucket. And at the last minute, Charlie proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that he was worthy of Wonka's faith in him. 4 kids down. The last one's the one. Then he brings Slugworth out. That's not Slugworth. He works for me. And then watch. Oh, my favorite. I love the little stuff. Watch when Wonka gets his jacket and the guy who we formerly knew as Slugworth just subtly helps him put it on. Way in the back. It's real subtle, but it's so that Wonka can get moving as fast as he can, that spry Wonka. Because, in the book, Wonka's a little short guy who, runs around, I'm Wonka. And Wilder's not that. He's playing him his own way and defining the character. You've won, Charlie. Forgive me for putting you through all that. He takes him, and we finally, those of us who read the book, are like, hey, there it is, the Great Glass Elevator. It's not quite the book. I mean, in the book, it's just glass. This one's a little more sturdy. It's a little more believable. It's got a great steampunk look before steampunk was even a thing. And it's a Wonkavator. It can go sideways and front ways and back ways and every ways. And I've pushed every button here except that one until now. Go ahead, Charlie, push it. In the book, it's labeled up and out. Up and out! And there's a weird moment at the end of this movie where Wonka's never pushed that button. And he's just, he's about, those of us, you've seen it. You know what's about to happen, the conversation. So knowing what Wonka is about to tell Charlie, the last test is, well, he'll tell it if we survive. If the glass elevator doesn't shatter and kill us all, I will continue the conversation, Charlie. What a weird... up until the end, Wonka is still messing with us. And that's what makes him great. The jig is up. Who cares? No, it's not up. It's not up till Wonka says it is. We don't know what's holding that in the sky, and we don't care. And it bursts through the factory roof, and we get an aerial view of the city and the factory. And they talk about what they can see and what they can't see. And then Wonka's down to business. What'd you think of the factory, Charlie? I think it's the most wonderful place in the world. I'm very glad to hear you say that, because I'm giving it to you. And you're like, oh my God, he's not getting the chocolate. He's getting the mantle of Wonka. Infinitely more important. And he tells him you can move in immediately. Oh, you, Grandpa Joe, your whole family. We're all going to live in the factory. And he goes, I'm not going to live forever, and I don't really want to try. So I had to find someone, a child, a very special child, to teach all of my candy-making secrets. And you can see Charlie's face is like, that's me? I couldn't have an adult. An adult want to do things his way and not my way. And like, I get emotional watching it every time. Because the subtext to it is Wonka is telling Charlie, I've been searching for you. As much as you've been searching for a father, I've been searching for a son. And now we have found each other. And then they hug. Charlie gives him this big hug and he goes, Wonka breaks and he just has that moment. And he says the most pure movie line of all time. You can give me platitudes. You can give me rough lessons. You can tell me this and tell me that. But in the lexicon of film, there is no ending line of a movie more perfect. You can go, this is the start of a beautiful friendship. Sure. Or Dorothy saying, I didn't have to leave home to find all my friends. Whatever it is. But the best line to encapsulate the journey they went on is when Wonka turns to Charlie and says, don't forget the story of the man who suddenly got everything he always wanted. He lived happily ever after. And don't that say it all, folks? Like in that moment, aren't you aware in your life of all the things you've ever wanted? And people telling you, well, if you get it, you won't be happy. Oh, the house on the corner you want? Well, you can move in, but it won't fulfill you. Money won't fulfill you, and life won't fulfill you, and this and that. And sure, it's not about the factory. I know it's about finding that father. And what struck me watching it again was that Wonka's talking about himself. He's getting what he wants. A son, a child worthy of taking his mantle and becoming him. Don't forget the story of the man who suddenly got everything he always wanted. He lived happily ever after. That's the most pure movie thought ever. Because it's so freaking true. Because we all have things we want. And I know I've said, so few things live up to their expectations. And you can want all you want, but this and that, it won't fulfill you. Now, some things do. Life fulfillment really matters. Having kids, writing, creativity. Why do you paint? Because I have to. Why do you write? Because if I don't, I'll go crazy. Because holding the novel that I wrote in my hands is my version of the man who got everything he always wanted. Having kids that get me. Not just having kids, but having kids that get me and kids that I get. That's the man who suddenly got everything he always wanted. There was never a sequel to this movie. Thank goodness. They didn't need one. There's very little merchandise. There was a candy making kit. I actually had pieces of it when I was a kid. In the 80s, the license was bought by Nestle, I believe, and they made mostly sugary candy, dinosaur eggs, jawbreakers that they called everlasting gobstoppers, which I thought was great. I bought all that candy just because, I was never really a fan of sugary candy, but it had the Wonka name on it, so all aboard, right? All aboard. There's a stage musical right now in London that's amazing. If you go on YouTube, you can see commercials for it. I'd love for it to come to the States. One of the songs is, my candy is so amazing, you have to believe it to see it. It has to be believed to be seen, which is a great turn of phrase, especially in Wonka Land. But I'll tell you this, folks. As great as the movie is, it is nothing without the amazing performance of Gene Wilder. I idolized him. I can't even begin to tell you how much I idolized Gene Wilder. his mannerisms, his nuances, the manic, how he goes from slow to build to manic in every film that he does. His dedication to his craft, not backing down when he knew that putting on the Ritz was going to make Young Frankenstein, or that the somersault would make the character of Willy Wonka. He had incredibly strong moral fibers that said, I'm going to do it this way because I know it's right. And for every artist, that's what we should strive to be. Good enough isn't. Can it do another rewrite? Can we start again? And I just love the way he talks, the way his mouth does that sort of, if you've seen him do interviews, like he talks really fast in his mouth and the way he moves and the way he talks. And how the last really big interview he gave, they asked him why he retired. He said, I didn't retire. There's just nothing good being made these days, and I don't want to be in a movie that's full of filth. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm right there with you. And in the top lists of people to meet, he was the top. And his death just sucker punched me. As if it was apparent. Because he was a mentor. He never knew me. He never met me. And yet he affected my life in immense ways. His performance as Willy Wonka defines me as an adult. Instead of chocolate factories, I do scary mazes. I do shows. I entertain. I scare in my own way. I don't have a purple jacket, but I have a jacket covered in diamonds. I Wonka my own way. We all should Wonka our own way. And I've gone on the show saying that I don't really believe in heaven. I have issues with organized religion. I am a questioner. I ask a lot of questions. And I've said on other episodes, I want to be wrong. I am not smug, hoping and thinking that I'm right about the afterlife. Oh my God, I wish I'm wrong. Can you imagine if I'm wrong? Like if I'm wrong, that when you die, all the people you've ever wanted to meet and be with are all there in, a golden embrace. My dad and mom are together, and Gene Wilder is sitting at a David Bowie concert. And they're watching David Bowie and Freddie Mercury. And Alan Rickman is warming up in Shakespeare 2 theaters over. I don't know. I know it's fantasy. And yet I hope I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. I want to hope that the journey of death does end in some kind of reunion. We all do. We all do. We all have things that were left unsaid. I've talked about that too, I'm never going to get my chance to meet Mr. Wilder and say, you made most of what I am. I'm not going to get to say that, I'm never going to meet my dad again. My mom is gone. People die, and that's it. There is no freaking do-overs. Would I like to meet George Lucas and Steven Spielberg? Sure. Do they have the weight of Wilder? Not really. Not really. There was something about him that was just magical. From the producers to Bonnie and Clyde, World's Greatest Lover, Start the Revolution Without Me, Sherlock Holmes' Smarter Brother, World's Greatest Lover, Hanky Panky, Another You, See No Evil, Hear No Evil. I mean, the list goes on. It's an impressive list. So we dedicate this episode to the memory of Gene Wilder, one of the greatest actors to ever grace the silver screen, who did it his way, who created characters like Dr. Frankenstein and the Waco Kid in Blazing Saddles and the Rabbi in The Frisco Kid. each character unique and amazing in his own way. And yet, the fluff children's movie is what he'll be remembered for forever. And how great that is. How great that is that a movie about imagination and fun and caring trumps movies that are just as good. You know, Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles and the producers are just as good as Willy Wonka, but there's something about what he does with that character that just, boom, it makes it indelible, you know? And I made it through the episode without crying, which I'm so proud of, because I know you're tired of that. So, I would watch this movie again tonight. That's how good it is. I would never watch the stupid remake again. I'm good. I don't need, but thank you. I thought Crispin Glover's turn as Willy Wonka in one of those Not Another Something movies was okay. He would have made a pretty good Wonka. Christopher Walken might have made a good Wonka. Christopher Lloyd did one on one of those Funny or Die videos. But there's only one Willy Wonka, and his name is Gene Wilder. And when you say Willy Wonka, he's the only face that comes to mind. There's no question. There's simply no question. There was a great Willy Wonka candy shop up in Hollywood, but they've sort of started dismantling it on Hollywood and Highland. But I did get to see it in its heyday, where I actually had a square candy that looks round. I bought it and ate it. So, hey, that's a childhood bucket list item marked off, right? And I know somewhere in England, where Nick Hudson lives, there's a Willy Wonka boat ride with little cutouts of all the characters. It's not elaborate, but that'd, be great. I'd love to see it, because that's that's Wonka's hometown because of Roald Dahl. So thanks, Roald Dahl. Thanks, Mel Stewart, the Quaker Oats Company, and mostly Gene Wilder for making my childhood what it was. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Halloween Haunt starts this week. Not Scary Farm starts this Thursday. I'll be working a few nights here and there. If you're a fan of the show, hit me up on Facebook if you want to meet in the park and say hi. That's what we do. Love hanging out, meeting you guys. You guys are what make doing the show worthwhile. Eventually I'll send out 5 golden tickets to see who's going to take over the show for me, You lose, sir! You bumped into the ceiling of the Cafe 80s, which now must be washed and sanitized, so you get nothing! Good day, sir! Hey, I'm Jeff Tucker. I am the voice, and the show you're listening to is the 5 golden ticket winning show, 91 Reasons.
Thanks for listening to 91 Reasons. Please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. Find us on Facebook. Is anyone even still listening?